Hey everybody, it's Jesse, and welcome to Live Coding with Jesse. Today we're going to continue on with what we were doing yesterday, which was making a home page using material design. So we got our buttons sorted out yesterday. I think we got our buttons sorted out. I just looked at it on my other screen here and they don't look right anymore. Still be on. Alright, I'm on a different branch. Alright, so I have my November hat on today. So you kind of see the November on there. So it's cold and today we got to dress down. My co-workers are trying to peek in on the live stream. We got to dress down today, so I got to wear, normally I have to wear dress clothes, but I got to wear jeans, my November hoodie, so I haven't gotten to show off any of this gear on the stream, so I figured I would today. Alright. Alright, so let's get started. Let me switch so y'all can see the screen. Okay, so yesterday we got these buttons in here and they will keep this configuration no matter what the screen size is, and they're narrow enough that they will fit on small screens, even on the narrowest of phones. The only thing I was thinking of with this, and I'm not worried about it right now because we're just going to try to lay out a potential, home page to show my boss. We might actually lay out more than one. We'll probably just do it on different branches. But I'm thinking maybe on a larger screen, these buttons could be larger, and then we'll use some media queries to scale them down on small screens. We also put in this events section within this card, and right now, it's really basic. I think this is enough just to kind of get the concept that we could put a list here. It could be events, it could be news, whatever we wanted to put there. Now I'd like to fill in this using kind of like a Masonry grid style, and just throw in some different types of content, just maybe some stock photos, some areas for text, some areas for video, just so that we have a nice visual of what could happen with this home page. And I don't think we'll get this done today, but if we do get that done today, then maybe we'll move on, and I'd like to do maybe a more traditional homepage that would be kind of linear and tell a story. So, the hero section would be the same, but then you may have just some full width sections that would explain what's so great about Franciscan University, why would you want to come here, and finish up with another call to action at the bottom. Now, I think those will be two good points to start from, and then we can get some feedback and rework it. We'll probably come back to this page several times over the next month or so, and work on some interior pages as well. But we'll go through a couple cycles of trying some stuff out, getting feedback, and then making some adjustments, getting more feedback. So, enough talk. Let's start up this Pomodoro timer and start doing some code. If you're not familiar with Pomodoro timer, this is a way to break up your work, and I like to use it when I'm working throughout the day, but it's also nice on the stream because it reminds me to quit coding and check out the live chat and answer any questions that there may be in there. So that's what I'm going to do. If you ask a question in the live chat during the 25-minute session, please be patient, and I will get to your question whenever the 25-minute period is over. We'll do a break, answer some questions, do another 25-minute session. So I'm hoping to do 2 coding sessions today. Let's start the first one. Alright, so yep, this is our code, and right now we're using React and we're using Next.js to kind of scaffold out our React app. Next.js offers us server-side rendering without very much work on our part, and then it offers us a routing system built in. So anything in this pages folder will become its own route. So the home page is index.js, but then the other pages are just, you know, what their names are here. So we have a page called page, we have a page called faculty. All right, so we're going to be working on just on the home page today. So we're going to scroll down. Now normally you wouldn't want to hard code things in your component like this. This is going to end up being a really big component once we're done with it. But then what we'll do is, once we're set on a design, we'll go back and we'll actually break these down into other components and have it populated with data, you know, from a database. We'll pull it in with the GraphQL API, and then that way these will get a lot smaller, and we won't clutter them up with, you know, with a lot of, you know, text content right here in the component. Okay, so I'd like to add, let's see, I think I'd like to break up this section here into maybe 2 cards. Let's see how this looks breaking this up into 2 cards. I don't want it to be too small, but at least on a large screen, I think it would be okay to have it like that. So let's try that first. Let's see. Alright, so here's that first card, and just has an image at the top. So what we'll do is we'll just copy this now. We're using Material UI for a lot of our components because it uses that Google's Material Design. If you're not familiar with React, just think about using like Bootstrap for a regular site. Material UI plays the same role for a React app as Bootstrap plays for just a normal, you know, HTML site. But in this case, it's following Material Design. And we need to make this. Alright, that's good. And then let's change these values. So instead of, we have a 12 column grid. So if you give it a value of 12, that means it's full width. If you give it a value of 6, that means it takes up half the width of the screen. So we want it to take up a fourth. So we're going to put in 3 so that each one of these takes up only 3 columns. Let's save that and see what we get. Alright, great. So now we've split this up into 2 cards on, let's see what screen size we can get. I'm going to shrink this down just to get a more realistic screen size. The screen that I have on right now that you can see is pretty large. It's over 20 inches. I don't remember how much over 20 inches it is, and it's also a 2K screen. So it's not everybody's gonna have a screen like this. Okay, not bad. I think we can definitely fit some content in here and it won't look, you know, too small. Let's see. Sorry, just checking out the live chat a bit. Hey everybody. Alright, so let's throw in some text content in here, and I don't know, I have to think about what I want to put in here. So let's remove this media, and you know what, let's remove this card actions. So I think what happened is when we originally put this in here, I think the card content would have been the proper thing to use, but it was overlaying over top of the image, or something was happening, so that's why we ended up going with this card actions. Normally you would actually have, you know, clickable actions in here. So let's get rid of some of this. Yeah, this is where I want to get rid of it. Let's get rid of that, and let's put in, I believe it's card it's card content. So if you're not familiar with what's going on here, these components that we're using, they don't come built in with React. These come from the Material UI component library. So we have to bring in Material UI, which we just added it through Node Package Manager, and we import these components up at the top. You see we're bringing in these components from Material UI. And I am using Visual Studio Code as my editor. If you've seen previous videos, you'll know that I've used Atom before. So I'm still getting used to what I have here. I was expecting a auto complete for this tag. I thought it would make the closing tag automatically, but it didn't. So I'll have to check my settings. But we have card content, and then we'll want to do a typography tag, and let's go with type, and we'll give it a type of, let's give it a type of H3, just see what size it is. And let's just say let's say 99% of graduates are super awesome. Alright, so that is definitely going to draw students in. Let's see how that looks. Wow, that's really small. I can't believe H3 is that small. Maybe that's not even a real type. I guess we'll try an H2 and see. I hate to use H tags unless they're actually headings. Alright, something's wrong. Let's look up typography in the Material UI documentation. Maybe under style? Yep, typography. Okay, if you want to follow along and check out the documentation, be sure to get the documentation for the latest version, so for the beta version. So the URL is material-ui-next.com. Alright. Display 4, 3, 2, 1, headline title, second, body 2. Okay. Check out the API. Oh, okay. You can't put in H. You can put in display. That's weird. For some reason, I thought you could put in H tags. maybe my memory is just terrible, or maybe this changed at some point. All right. Well, now we definitely need to switch things up a bit. So let's see what we want. Let's try display 2. There we go. Alright, not bad, just to show. We're going to have to be... Alright, here's where we're going to have to be careful. And we'll be able to see it when I add some more cards in, but I want to make sure that these gaps get filled in, so we wouldn't have the next row all starting here and then a big gap here. And I also don't want this card just to fill up the space and have a lot of white space here. So let's see what happens when we do this with this current grid system we're using. If we don't get what we want, we're going to have to try something different. But I do have some ideas. So I think I have at least 2 ideas. One of them I know has worked for me before on previous sites. So we'll try them up. Okay. And I know that I see there's some questions in the live chat. I'm going to go over all the questions in about 13 minutes. So whenever this timer is done, I'm going to get all the questions. So just please be patient, and I'll do my best to answer everything. All right, so let's just add in some more cards. I really want to see how these stack. And the easiest way to do this is just going to be to throw in some more items. So first thing I'm going to try to do is just do it like this within the same container. I'm not sure exactly if this will work or not, but let's try it out. Okay, so doing it this way, you see we have the problem that I thought we would have. Let's go to the documentation and see if there's already a built-in way to solve this. Okay, sorry, I just glanced there. Oh, Michael says, can't follow along as usual at the hospital getting my bi-weekly phlebotomy for a blood issue. I hope everything's okay with your health issues, Michael. So I didn't realize that you had that. So I hope it's not really serious. I always like talking with you here on the live chat. So anyway, if doing the stream at this time conflicts regularly with your appointments, let me know. And maybe I can try to do it a different time, because I'd hate for you to have to miss. Okay, where are we at? Grid. There we go. Okay, so we're checking out the grid here. Align content, stretch center, flex, between, space around. The photos. All right, let's check out the demos. All right, no, not worried about that. All right, I don't think there's anything covering that. Stretch center, flex start, flex end. I mean, maybe align content or align items would work, but I don't know. I'm a little skeptical that this would do anything. All right, so I'm going to go to my next options, right? So I have two ideas. One idea we've used before in previous projects, and that's to bring in Masonry layout package that'll handle all this for us, and it'll position things using JavaScript. I'd rather not do that if we don't have to, but we might have to. My other idea, and we saw this yesterday briefly, it just kind of caught my eye, so I thought, why not try, is to use, where is it? I don't remember what it was called, so I'm going to have to go through this list. Grid, is it grid list? You know what, I don't want to go through the API, I want the demos, component demos. I think this was it. I think it was the grid list. Let me see if this is actually giving us what we want. You know, it's, so far I'm just seeing, I'm seeing everything at the same height in each row. So this still isn't really solving the issue. So let me check out. Let me check the source. Okay, they're mapping over this. Alright, so I am going to, whoa. I'm going to adjust the height. Okay. Yeah, this is pretty much what I thought. Let's adjust, see if there's anything happens. Yeah, so this isn't going to help us either. We still have these gaps. Okay. I don't think there's anything built into Material UI. I'm going to go through this list quickly just to see if there's something that, you know, maybe I'm missing here. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. Okay, so we're still going to be able to use the grid elements, most likely, but we're going to add in a package. It's going to use a little bit of JavaScript to position each one of these cards, and the position will update if the screen width changes. And that way we're always going to have, we're going to make use of all our space. We're not going to have these big gaps. I'm trying to think, where did we use this? We did use this on a project. Actually, let me see if is it bulletin? I don't know if I actually made this site. No, I didn't. I think I just have the site locally. I don't have a live version of it. But we did this on the bulletin site. So that'll probably be the best thing to look at to figure out how we're going to do this. So let's check out GitHub. And I'll make my font size a bit bigger. Wow, I just got a bunch of emails from my work email. Alright, it looks like nothing is important. Resource Center, here we go. Bulletin React. So I'm going to that FUS Marcom Bulletin React repository. And let's check out our server, our source, and these are views. Probably homework. It's been a while since I've looked at this repo. Grid renderer. Okay. So we got to find grid renderer. Components. There we go. Let's open up grid view and list our grid renderer and grid view to try to see what's going on. And let's see. Okay. Alright, I see. It looks like what we had done here was we imported some CSS from another library, so not Material UI. I think we imported some of the column classes from Materialize CSS, which is basically just like Bootstrap except it has material design styles. So I'd rather not import this if we don't have to. Certainly not going to import the whole thing. I mean, I maybe would pull little pieces of it if we need it. But it seems like, yeah, this is something we could definitely do. Alright. And let me check this one out as well. Grid renderer, grid view, post. Okay, this is just switching us between the different views. So we have, in this particular project, we had a toggle. Well, actually, there's more than a toggle. You could toggle grid view or list view, but then you could also go to a print view if you wanted to. It's not going to be that complicated for us. We're going to have one view. I mean, we could certainly have more than one if we wanted, but let's just start off with one. Okay. I'm going to pull this over onto my other screen to make it easier for me to reference it. And then let's pull up our code on this screen. And let's make sure, let's double check that this repo that we are using is up to date. React Masonry component. Check to make sure it's up to date. They haven't had any breaking changes or anything that we need to be aware of. So we can go to the releases and see their last release was October 22nd. Let me think. I think that we worked on this project, the Bulletin project, around or after that time, so there shouldn't be changes. We could always verify by looking at the package JSON in our project. So we'll bring back that repo here, check out the package JSON and see React Masonry component 6.0.1. Yeah, so we'll have the same versions, which is good. So we should be able to do this the same way and it'll work. And yep. React Masonry component. Alright, so my timer is about up. So I'd say the last thing we could do is yarn add React Masonry components. And we'll let that install while I go back to the live chat. I'm going to take a short break and scroll up and try to answer all your questions. All right, Dimitri asks where I got the grid, where I import the grid from Material UI. So let's check that out, where you import. So I had to do like an npm install of Material UI. So I have already done it, so I'm not going to do it again. But if you're using npm, what would it be? npm. Is it install? Save. Is that how you do it? It's been so long since I just used npm. Material UI. Or what I usually do is I use yarn, so I do a yarn add Material UI. That will bring that into your project, and then you can do the imports. And you can use Material UI. So check out the Material UI GitHub repo or their website, and it'll walk you through how to import that into your project and use it. And this is for React only, that you want to use those components. So if you're not doing a React project, this is not what you want to use. If you'd like to use material design in a non-React project, try out Materialize CSS. And I think it's materialize.com, or is it materializecss.com? It's worth looking up. Yeah, materializecss.com. That's what you want to use for, like a non-React site, plain HTML site. It's basically any site that you normally want to use Bootstrap for. You can replace Bootstrap with Materialize, and it'll give you the same stuff, just in material design style. Patrick says 1% of graduates are super lame. Yeah. I didn't really think that one through, but I guess that's... Well, they could just be regular awesome. They don't have to be lame. So it's 99% of graduates are super awesome. And yeah, let's change that up right now, because I could see that could be problematic. How's that? See, then there's no negative connotation. Everybody's some type of awesome. Alright. The Hopeless Brit says, might be a silly question, but do web developers working in offices have an open mind about people who think out loud when programming? I guess it shouldn't matter if people have earphones in. I actually can hear, so I have my own office, so I don't have other people working right next to me, so it's not really a problem. But I can hear the person in the office next to me. I can hear them on the other side of my wall talking sometimes, but only if I don't have my headphones on. So you're right. I wear headphones all the time when I'm working. I always have music going, so noise doesn't bother me. If I happen to not have headphones on for some reason, I can hear noise. It's usually not a problem for me. There's a classroom right on this side of my office, and I can hear the professors lecturing in their classroom. Depending on who the professor is, I can hear them, and that can be somewhat distracting if I don't have my headphones on. But I would say, I mean, if you're the type of person that needs to talk things out loud, then if you can at all, like, stay away from the other people, you know, get a little bit farther away from them, that would probably be best, just to be respectful. I guess you can't make them wear headphones, so I don't know how I'd handle that. Luckily, I don't have to deal with that. I'm not sure how I would handle that one. Yeah, like I said, it doesn't bother me personally because I can always wear the headphones. All right. I'm going to go back to the coding here in just a second. I wanted to make sure I made a note of where I'm leaving off at. Okay, so the last comment that I got to in the live chat is from Abhinav. It says, I don't know how, but I'm in love with material design. Well, all right, well, this is the stream for you because we material design everything here. All right, so the rest of the questions I'm going to get to after this next coding session. If you can't stick around to hear the answer, then check out the recording of this stream later on when you have a chance, and I'll answer all the questions towards the end of the stream. All right. What were we doing? Oh, okay, I just installed the Masonry layout. Great. So let's bring in Masonry. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, but I think it's worth mentioning again, I wouldn't keep this component as it is now in this state. I would definitely refactor this and remove as much of this as I could into separate components. So just for now, when we're messing around, I don't think it's worth it to make all these different components because we may not even keep half of them, you know, for the finished product. But eventually this will need to be refactored. It would just be a mess to come in here and try to figure out what's going on if we left it like this. Also, we are going to be able to reuse a lot of these components in other places in the site. So, right, we can't reuse them if they only exist in here. Alright, so we got Masonry in here now. Now let's try to do something with it. So let's wrap. That was a really hard P sound I just made. That was weird. Let's wrap our components in this Masonry. Let's see what happens if I change this grid to Masonry. I'm not really expecting this to work, but if it does, it'll be pretty awesome and quick. So it's always worth a shot. Did I wrap the wrong thing in here? I did. Alright. Let's try that again. I didn't mean to wrap that part in it. This is what I wanted to wrap in Masonry. And I need to get rid of container. And all the way down here, Masonry. Alright, well that's something, right? Let's see. Probably, let's see. Our flex. Flex. I think our we're not going to be able to use grid. Okay, Rook just says in the live chat that for the newest versions of npm, you don't need to use the save flag anymore. You can just npm I and then the package name. All right, cool. That's a lot shorter. So I mentioned earlier a much longer way to do it that's unnecessary. So you could just do npm I and then Material UI or whatever package you have. Thanks for that, Rook. I'm behind the times on npm. That is much easier. All right, so let's change these. Let's change all this grid stuff because the CSS that's going along with all these grid components is conflicting with what we're trying to do in Masonry. So let's, for now, just change these all to divs. Oops, div. Alright, so they're all going to be divs. I don't think it's going to work. We're going to have to add some other classes to that. Alright. Let's add alright, so for everything where we have the 3, let's just say now I understand why we added in the materialize classes last time. I'd hoped we wouldn't need to do that, but we probably will. So let's go with style width and 25%. We go with 25% width, and for that one. And then for the ones that are 6, why don't we have another 6 here? Three, 3, 6. We should have another 6. Did we not add another one? I guess we didn't. Okay, so only have one that's small 6, and for this one, we're going to change it to be 50%. We're not going to keep things like this. This is just to test it out. If this works, we'll change these into classes. So just to test, we're kind of making our own little grid system here. Our little column system. It probably won't stay like this. Let me see what the styles are on here. I gotta be missing something. Okay. I'm checking out how we implemented this in the previous project just to see if I'm missing something. I don't think we're missing anything. Let's see. We had our masonry layout up, didn't we? There we go. React Masonry component. Let's take a look at their documentation. Just look at their basic usage. Alright, masonry options. Alright, let me check. I think we're using the masonry component right. I think the problem is our containers. Next page, share cards. Alright, this is a little bit better. Let's try this. So we had a display flex on our hero cards, which this is not really a great name for these now. At one time they were going to peek up into the hero section. Let's try to use this without display. There we go. Alright, better. Much better. There we go. Okay. Alright, so you can see how this is supposed to work. Obviously we need to set our gutter, right, our space between, which we haven't done. But aside from the awkwardness of that, you could see we're not wasting space, right? If we had more cards, you would see it would really not be wasting a lot of space. We didn't add in anything for smaller screens, but this would, of course, everything would go full width and for a smaller screen. But this is what I wanted, this kind of fluid grid system that automatically adjusts and doesn't take up space. Alright, not bad. Would rather not have to do this in a totally different way. Let me think. I'm just wondering if I could re-implement our grid and just adjust the CSS for the container, and if that would work. I think it's worth a shot. It's not like I did that much work that it would be hard to get it back. So I'm just gonna hit the back button a bit. Bring our grid back, and then take these out. See what happens. Okay, not not super terrible actually. So if we can just figure out what's making this so thin, we might be able to continue to use our grid, which is nice. That means we don't have to come up with our own system, our own column system, or we don't have to import it from Materialize. Alright, so let's check out, this is the container div, and I can bring DevTools over for this. So we're checking out that container div. That definitely needs to be bigger, or else you all can't see it. And let's switch this around a bit. Let's move this over, and we'll stretch this out. There we go. Alright, so this is our container. You can see it's getting this position absolute, the exact positioning from the JavaScript, which is what we wanted. Let's see. I'm going to go through. Let's see, flex 0, 0. Alright, so removing that doesn't really do anything. Let's see if there's anything in here that looks like it might mess things up. No, nothing there. Let's double check. Yeah, if we took out everything we needed there. Okay. Okay, so if we switch from having it say max width 25% and instead have width 25%, then that works a lot better. So I guess now the question is it worth it to go in and switch these classes up? Or should we bring in our own system? See how much time we have before we tackle that. 8 minutes? We don't really have to change anything in here. We just need to add widths. Oh, okay. John Hansen, I just saw your comment about the image width. That makes sense. So notice this was only happening on images. So let's take this back to max width. So the text was fine. The events are okay. They do look different than they did before, but this actually isn't. Yeah, let's see if we can do this. So we want the interior of, not of that one, of this one. Paper, page card. The card width is set to 100%. Interesting. Let's see. Min height. Alright, so we're actually not getting Hmm. Yeah, John, you caught that. They're using a CSS background image. Yeah, so that's kind of not, that's not obvious from the way it looks in the code, right? Let's show where the code is. Yeah, so you have this card media, and you put an image and a title, right? It looks like this should convert to an image tag, but it's not. It's a background image. So, I mean, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But it is going to make, we just have to make a decision, really, about what we're going to do with these cards, how we're going to handle this issue here. I guess we could make John Hansen says you need to have the elements in each flex div stretch. Alright, so what's the... Is it flex? I'm not good enough with Flexbox to know what the command is where you put stretch on. Flex start. So is it flex? Flex basis, flex direction. I can look it up, but I figured, John, if you knew offhand, it might be faster. Yeah, definitely not basis. I just saw it somewhere. Where did I have it at? Just thinking. I just saw it in the documentation for Material UI. It was in the API for Grid, I think. No, not Grid list. Do they not have Code API Grid? Align items. Okay, or justify content. Yep, that's it. That's what I just remember I saw it there. You had it first though, John. Thank you. All right, let's see. Flex. Yeah, let's go. Line item stretch. Alright, not that one. Let's try. I might be putting it on the wrong thing too. Content stretch. Alright, let's try putting it on a different something here. Nope. Let's try this one. Nope. Okay. Alright, so that's not working either. I may be doing it wrong, but I think now we're back to we're not going to be able to use grid unless we make our own classes. Let's see, you need to see what direction first, row or column. Let's see. Oh, what we have. Flex. No, that's for index. See, we don't have a container anymore that's setting it. If we did, it was set at column. I wonder if we have. Our overall container still is using flex. Yeah. All right. Well, my timer is up. So I guess I'll work on this for a little bit today, maybe, or tomorrow morning. And so maybe before tomorrow's stream, I'll have this working. I'm not sure what the best solution will be at this point, but I'll either create some of my own classes to handle the width issue, or and continue using it with the grid elements, or I will just import the column classes from Materialize and bring them in and use them just like we did in that bulletin project. If we do it just like the bulletin project, that does have the benefit of being able to just really reuse code between the two projects, which is nice. I'm also way more familiar with the Materialize column classes than I am with the Material UI classes for grid and all the options they have. So we'll see. It'll be one of those two. Alright, so let me scroll up now to where I left off in the live chat, and I'm going to go through and answer everything that's in the live chat now. So if you have a question, please put it in the chat now. When I get through everything, that'll be the end of the stream. Let's see. Kudananji says, Sweden says hello. Hello, Sweden. Thanks for watching. Let's see. Naveen asks, why can't we use Polymer for material designs? You can use Polymer in a lot of cases. I'm not sure where we're at as far as being able to use Polymer components in React. I'm sure it's either been done or there's somebody working on it, some sort of library to be able to use that, but I just haven't tried it. So I'd be open to trying it. Probably not on this project because we have a tight deadline, so I don't want to have to learn something new if I can help it for this project. But maybe for a future project, we'll have to find it. Like I said, I'm not aware exactly of anybody doing that right now, but I'm sure somebody is doing it. Let's see. Hey, Sins, S-Y-N-S says, hey, how do you make your GitHub look like that? Yeah, so I'm using the dark theme for GitHub. So you have to download Tamper Monkey if you're on Chrome. I believe Firefox has an equivalent. I don't know if it's called Tamper Monkey or something else. And then you need to get the GitHub Dark script. So if you type in GitHub Dark, it should come up in the search, and it'll have directions for how to make that work. Then you get this theme, and you also get more options. So you get all these GitHub Dark settings to change things, and I have this theme on, but there's lots of different themes that I could be using. So anyway, it's pretty cool. I always like the dark themes better. I think it's easier on the eyes. But that's how I get my GitHub to look like that. see. Weyra. All right, so Weyira. Weyra. Sorry, I want to pronounce that right. So let me know. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. Let me know how it should be pronounced, and I'll do my best to remember and pronounce it right. But anyway, they say, I joined today and would love to do all 5 projects. How do I find it? Okay. I don't have every project in its own playlist yet. Some of them have their own playlists, but the Live Coding with Jesse playlist on this channel, the Free Code Camp channel on YouTube, has all the projects in order. If you go back to the first video, that's project 1, and you go through, right now the titles will tell you what project it is. I think for project 1, I don't actually say it's project 1, but for all the projects after that, I have it right in the title. So it'll say like P2 and then D like 5 for like project 2 day 5. So right now, that's like the one big playlist that has everything. I'm going to continue to break things out as well into separate playlists to make it easier to follow along. And I'm glad you joined. Welcome. Einbishin says, how long did it take you to learn GraphQL? I don't know. I mean, I learned it on the stream with you all, so I've only been streaming for like 8 months, something like that, maybe 9 months. So less than 9 months for sure, and probably way less than 9 months. So I don't know GraphQL. Like, I'm no expert at GraphQL. I know enough to definitely use GraphQL, you know, in terms of from the client side of getting things from GraphQL. In terms of setting things up server side, I don't really know that much about it. So I haven't created my own GraphQL API from scratch or anything yet. I imagine probably end up doing it at some point. But to be able to learn how to get data from a GraphQL API, that's pretty easy, especially if you already understand how APIs work, like a REST API. It's not really that hard to make a jump to GraphQL. And if you're using some sort of helper library, like if you're using Apollo, you know, it makes it really easy. So if you want to get into GraphQL, I'd say like client side, it shouldn't take too long at all. Server side, I don't really know because I haven't gotten into that yet. Guru Tech says, why don't you try Material Design Bootstrap? You know what? Actually, I haven't checked on that in quite a while to see if that was good. I remember, you know, several years ago when I was trying to decide on a material design, you know, framework to use, I didn't like it as much as Materialize. I don't know where that project's at now, though. Maybe it's better now. I just don't know. Let's see. Robert asks, is it better to use Materialize or Bootstrap? I think it depends on what kind of look you want. If you're trying to go for a material design look, it's gonna be easier for you to use Materialize. You could certainly use Bootstrap and then just adjust it. You know, I wouldn't adjust it directly, but I maybe like add, you know, a theme on of your own on to use in addition to Bootstrap. Then you could make it look like material design too, but why, you know, I don't really see the point in spending all that time trying to turn Bootstrap into something else. So it just depends on the look. If I didn't want a material design look, if it didn't matter whether or not I had a material design look, maybe I'd go with Bootstrap because more people use it, so the odds of, you know, the testing is better, right? There's just way more people using it, reporting errors and things like that, more people working on it. It would take me a little while to get used to the Bootstrap way of doing things because I have much more experience with Materialize. I have built things with Bootstrap before, but you know, with Materialize, I remember a lot of the classes without having to look them up. With Bootstrap, I don't. So for me, I would probably go with Materialize just because of that. But if I was starting from scratch, I'd go with, if you want material design, use Materialize. Otherwise, go with Bootstrap. That'd be my recommendation. Let's see. Cathal says, I only came in now. What is Masonry used for? So the Masonry, the concept of a Masonry grid is, I mean, it's pretty, basically just, this isn't a good example because it's all messed up now. But basically you just have all these different, you know, elements with different shapes, different sizes, right? Different widths and heights, and they all fit together with the same amount of space in between, with the same gutter. And as you change the window width, they all adjust so that you don't have this weird space in between. That's what I mean when I'm talking about Masonry. And so we actually use this Masonry component. Here it is, React Masonry component. And what this does is it takes the Masonry package that was made by, I think it's like Desandra or something like that. Trying to think what the other thing. So Masonry is the free version. There's another package, JavaScript plugin called Isotope. That's a paid version. And it basically handles this Masonry layout, some sorting and things like that. But it's just a regular, you know, JavaScript plugin. This is a component that takes that and you know, it actually uses that code, but it makes it into a React component. So it makes it a lot easier to use with React. So that's how we're using, you know, Masonry in our project. And this is the best Masonry layout library, this one here, that I've seen. I wonder if there's a link. I don't know. I'm actually surprised that there's not a link to the original site. If you look up Masonry or Isotope as, you know, like a JavaScript plugin, you should find it, and you'll see more demos and kind of like what it could do. Ah, here we go. There's a link to Desandra's page. So here it is. This is the Masonry grid layout. So you can use it with jQuery, without jQuery in the regular version. But then if you want to use it with Materialize, I recommend using the component that we were just looking at. Just makes it a whole lot easier. I believe we tried to do it with this on one project, and it wasn't impossible to do, but it was definitely more difficult. Alright, Rook says, anyone here heard of MUURI, Murray Grid System? Does same-ish thing as Masonry, only saw a live demo. I've never heard of it. I've never used it, so that might be cool to check out. You know, see if it's better than Masonry. I mean, it seems like Masonry is kept up to date. I mean, there's some updates from 5 days ago. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so I mean, it's kept up to date, but it has been around for quite a while. There might be something newer out there that does a better job, maybe more lightweight. Edwin says, "You rock, bro. Thanks for for the constant motivation. You're welcome. I'm glad I can give you some motivation here. I actually had trouble getting motivated coming back from the holiday break there. I thought about making a video about how I ended up getting myself motivated to help out, so we'll see. Maybe I'll make one. But this stream always motivates me, so if I can help motivate you all, I'm really happy about that. All right. Vinayak says background size cover or 100% for the image, maybe. Yeah, let's try that out. Where's our thing at here? Background size cover. All right, how about, oops, 1%. Nope. Good suggestion though. Oh, Sin says they see the dark theme for GitHub with stylish and not the same. All right, let's check out that dark theme then. Let's see. I think this is what I used. Yeah, this is what I used. Yeah, so basically what you want to do is I think I used the user script add-on. Let's see. Yeah, so I did the Chrome install with Tamper Monkey. So evidently there's a lot of different ways to use this. So I already had Tamper Monkey installed. That's why I did it this way. If you don't have Tamper Monkey installed, it looks like you can get add-ons, you know, for other things. So one of these ways should work. The way I used was to add the script directly into Tamper Monkey. All right. Dion, D-I-O-N-N-E. I'm pretty sure it's Dion, right? I think we may have talked about this before. Correct me if it's not pronounced that way. Dion says Bootstrap is more flexible, Materialize is more rigid to custom changes. I definitely agree. That's a really good answer. So we were talking about whether or not to use Materialize or Bootstrap. That's a really good point. Bootstrap is more like design neutral and meant to be changed. Materialize has a purpose of being material design style. So it definitely is not as open to being adjusted. So I definitely agree. So that's, if you want material design, go with it. But if you don't care about material design, Bootstrap is definitely the way to go. You'll have an easier time of creating your own style. Thanks for that, Dion. That was a really good point. All right, Cathal says, thanks for the thorough explanation on Masonry. You're welcome. I hope that was help made sense of things for you. Let's see. Okay, Sin says, yeah, I use it with Stylish and that works, but it's not the same as yours. That's interesting. I wonder why. It's possible mine's different because I have an older version. I have an older version that's not been updated in a while. Let's go 242. Oops. Oh, yeah, 24120. I think I may be pretty behind in terms of versions. Oops. Where did I find that? Here we go. 120. Oh, no, actually, is this the CSS version? Maybe I'm not that far behind. That's weird. Does it auto-update then? Anyway, I have no idea why mine looks different. Okay, Sin said, I installed the Tamper Monkey one and it seems way better than the others. Okay, cool. I had never tried any of the other ones, so I just lucked out then and got the good one right off the bat. Okay, and it is the same. Cool. Yeah, I didn't tell you the truth, I didn't even realize there were other ways to use it. I installed it a while ago and I haven't looked at the documentation since then. I haven't really tried out any of the options. It might be cool to mess with those at some point. Alright, so I've got through the live chat and wow, my Slack for work has a lot of messages and so does my email. So now's a great time to wrap things up and see what's going on before I head out. Actually, I have to leave work early because my car won't start. It's so cold, my car won't start. So my wife's car is a lot newer and it is starting up. So she has to pick me up from work, and so she needs to pick me up earlier than normal. So I need to quit talking and get ready and leave. But thank you all so much for watching and for helping out in the live chat. And thanks for all the questions. I love it when there's a lot of questions. Gives me something to talk about. And it's cool. I like whenever we can help each other out. I should be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday already. Wow. This week went so fast. So anyway, I should be back tomorrow around the same time. I'm going to try to do the streams closer to 1 o'clock now. I used to always aim for 2 o'clock, but I really want to do it earlier for everybody over in India and in that area, in that time zone, because I don't want to keep you all up really late. And I know there's a lot of viewers from that area of the world. So plan on being around 1 p.m. Eastern time. I'll do my best to keep it around that time, and hopefully tomorrow I'll have some of this sorted out, some of this masonry stuff sorted out, and we'll have something a little bit nicer to look at. But until then, thanks again, and have a great day.